Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for letting me join this important hearing. I am a strong supporter of the F-35 program. Fifth-generation capabilities are essential to our nation's defense. I do remain concerned about the pilot escape system, especially the ejection seat. So I have a few questions on that, and I'm not sure who to direct this to specific. Okay, thank you, General. As you know, the Air Force discovered that pilots who weigh less than 136 pounds were at high risk of severe injury or death during ejection. The program review last year by the Director of Operational Test and Evaluation from OSD stated, quote, "The extent to which the risk has been reduced for lighter weight pilots by the modifications to the escape system and helmet is still to be determined by a safety analysis of the test data," unquote. So that's what I'm going to pursue. So first of all, how many tests to date have you done to qualify the Martin Baker ejection seat for the F-35?
Multiple different kinds of tests, but if you're talking about the actual, no kidding, shooting the ejection seat with a dummy in it to check, I believe we've done on the order of about 19 to 23 tests. And we are completed now with all of those tests. The last few tests that we did over the last 5 or 6 months included the 3 fixes that were necessary to reduce the risk of those lightweight pilots in an ejection scenario. The first of those fixes was a lighter helmet, and we've built those lighter helmets and have them now. The second was a sequencer switch on the seat that could be selected by the pilot if he's a lightweight pilot or a heavyweight pilot, and that reduces the opening shock on ejection. And the third is a head support panel that is placed on the risers so that when the parachute does come out during ejection, the pilot's head cannot be snapped back. All 3 of those fixes were designed. All 3 of those fixes are now tested. All 3 of those fixes are now getting ready to be cut into production. The one last test I have to do for the entire ejection seat system is put all of those together and fire electrons at it to make sure our we call it triple E testing. Triple E testing is done. That testing is scheduled in March, sir. As soon as those tests are complete, we will have all the reports necessary to hand to the services so that they can make the determination that the risk has been reduced enough to lower the weight of the pilots. We're not waiting for that. We're now putting the kits together to retrofit all the airplanes out there with the lighter helmets, with the helmet support, and with the switch, so that if the services give us the okay in April, we will start modifying airplanes. The data that I have seen so far, and it's not the final data, indicates that we've reduced the risk not only for lighter pilots, but all pilots in the F-35 from a problem with neck loads with these 3 fixes, and that is an improvement for across all of the pilot population, and we will be able to remove that restriction down to 103 pounds. But it just took some time to get it done, and now we're getting it done.
And I know that there's another model out there or available, and I want to really be making sure that we compare the risk of what is currently in place versus the alternative model that is available to make sure we're not having unacceptable risk to our highly trained and valuable pilots.
And we agree with that. When we did originally pick the Martin Baker seat over an ACES seat, that risk was done. In 2010, the U.S. Air Force did a second look to make sure that the Martin Baker seat was the right seat, and they did it. But notwithstanding all of that, with the 3 fixes we've had to make, the Air Force has sent me direction that they want me to relook once again to make sure that the Martin Baker seat is fully capable of protecting our pilots as best we can, and compare that to what a future ACES seat would look like. We're in the process of doing that right now.
Thank you. I'm glad to hear that.
We're doing that right now.
And a couple background questions real quick before my time's up. What is the total cost to the program that's been incurred because of all this 19 to 23 tests and the future test you're talking about?
0. When the problems with this occurred, we went back to industry and said, we believe that we've given you enough time and enough money to design this seat appropriately. Therefore, any changes that have to be made in the engineering, the retrofitting, and the production cut-in ought to be borne by industry and not the government, and they agreed. So right now, The U.S. government is not paying for any of those fixes, sir.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I yield back.